I'm going to talk today about why, if you are trying to lead just like the men or being much more in that masculine style of leadership, it isn't working, and what powerful, high performing leaders and women leaders, specifically, are doing instead. So this video is going to be for you if you've ever found yourself softening your tone so that you wouldn't be labeled as aggressive, or you're holding back an idea because you don't want to seem like you're being too much, you're always too something, or you found yourself like, oh, I don't really want to be as passionate about this or be as open of my enthusiasm because then you may be labeled as emotional. Well, you're not doing leadership wrong, but you are stuck in a leadership model that wasn't designed for us women. So if this is the first time you're catching a video here, hi, I'm Kim. I am the founder and leader at the Leadership Edge Academy, helping women leaders in senior, going from manager to senior leadership and beyond with their leadership effectiveness, as well as their career growth, etc. So let's dive into what's really happening, because I'm going to bet that you're going to check all of these check boxes if you find yourself as a woman leader, and that could be as a manager, senior manager, director, etc. But you're likely already doing all kinds of high level work, but you're still not being seen as strategic. Let me guess. Sometimes you might have gotten in your performance evaluation like, you're not quite leadership material yet, right? But you're like, well, they don't give you any specifics as to what they're looking for. You've also been told to stay calm, maybe stay nice or stay humble. One of my clients was recently told that she was being too impatient with her career ambitions. So I have an opinion on that. I will share that in a different video. But oftentimes your ability to stay calm, to stay focused, to quietly get all the work done and deliver the results in the performance are exactly the qualities that are leading to you being passed over when it comes to promotions, salary raises, or even just being invited to those strategic meetings where the decisions get made. And what is likely have happened is if you do step into being more of an authority, to really embracing more of being a leader. And when I talk about being a leader, it's from the examples that you've seen as you grow in your career, which may be much more of a dominant type of leadership or a more directive type of leadership. You tend, and you also, I'll make this extra thing, you might also find yourself wanting to soften or like almost eliminate any type of the emotional side. You find yourself being labeled often as cold, emotional, aggressive, or not even a team player because you don't play nice. So I'd love to hear if you've experienced this before, please drop a yes in the comments below, whether you're on LinkedIn, on YouTube, or on Instagram. I'd love to know, is this something that you've already experienced before? Because I know with all of my clients, this comes up fairly regularly before we start working together. Now, here's part of the thing that you're likely doing. You're probably always thinking about, well, how am I going to say this? And you're managing how you deliver outcomes, how you deliver key messages, how you're communicating of what you've been doing. And you're getting tired because, hey, I could be spending that time doing other things and managing my results. You may already also find yourself rewriting your emails like 3 or 4 times just to make sure that the tone is just right, that it doesn't come across as too direct and it's soft enough. I know, hey, I'll stick my hand up. I've done that often enough in the past. Sometimes I still do, but there is some method to the madness there, because what I am looking to do, when I'm going to talk to you about that in a few minutes, is about infusing assertiveness into my communication. How many times, if you're trying to give feedback, whether it's to a colleague, whether it's to a senior stakeholder, or even to a team member, you phrase it more of as a suggestion, or you avoid it altogether. Now, I remember, and it was during one of my coaching calls with my clients this last month, I was sharing a story of when I had taken over a project, pretty much ad hoc in an emergency crisis situation. Of course, escalations happen in normal companies, but I was the go-to for the escalations. And they I needed to jump in, and a senior leader was like, "Okay, well, this needs to get done and done and done, XYZ," and then was going to be off for a number of weeks on holidays and business trips. To say that I hit a lot of obstacles would be saying it lightly. Also, because the groundwork wasn't laid in the sense that the team that I needed to step in and manage and lead wasn't in agreement, didn't know what expectations were, didn't know where we were working towards, etc. And I was at that point stepping in as an interim project manager. And I remember afterwards doing an evaluation, and I'm very proud to say that I got the job done. I got more than the results than they'd ever expected. And on top of everything else, um, what I found was my biggest win there was is getting the team aligned and back on board, because there was so much resistance there that I almost just kind of thought like, is this even worth it? But in the evaluation conversation with the senior stakeholder, I remember the moment where he asked for feedback. And I was just like, I had so many ideas of like, yeah, you really needed to like establish the framework here and the vision and the strategy, and really involve the team a lot more than just kind of plucking me out and dumping me in there. Like, I had so many ideas and suggestions. Do you know what I said? No, 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 you did a great job. Partly because I didn't think I had an option of giving any suggestions, but also because I was just really afraid that this would come across as yeah, wouldn't be picked up properly. Let's put it that way. That this leader would be insulted or offended. So I didn't give any feedback. So this was also a moment where I shrunk. This is the other part of this trap that I often find we as women sit in. We shrink our leadership, and the voice that we have to use to keep others comfortable. I didn't share feedback because I wanted to keep that senior stakeholder comfortable, rather than really sharing and showcasing the problems and the obstacles that were there, that he could have, if he would do this again in the future, could avoid, except I didn't provide that feedback. And you're doing all of this. So you're constantly managing how you're speaking and who you're speaking to. You're rewriting your emails, you're phrasing your feedback as suggestions. You're shrinking that how you talk and what you're sharing, and how present you are, in a sense, how much space you almost take up in the room just to keep others comfortable. And you're doing all of this while still having this immense pressure to prove yourself, to perform. So what I want to do is, rather than we continue to dive into this and lean into this aspect of like, if I'm going to be successful as a leader, I need to lead like my male colleagues. I need to adapt a more masculine type of leadership style. Because let's be honest, a lot of the characteristics aren't necessarily gender related, but they are more of a masculine or feminine. So this is one of the reasons why within the Leadership Accelerator, we concentrate also on what it means to lead like a woman. And lead like a woman is really about how do you start leading in a way that is really aligned with you, that gives you energy, and is still highly effective in creating the outcomes, the results, and the impact, as well as the career growth that you are wanting to achieve. So here's where I want to share with you 3 shifts that you can make. One is to lead with authority, not an apology. What do I mean by that? Well, how often have you found yourself wanting to share an expectation? So, for example, you are working with a team member and they're not performing as they should. Well, you can set the expectation, but then you continue on explaining why it's necessary, what you're expecting them to do. You give them a very long, rambling answer. Well, unless that explanation leads to greater understanding by the other person, what you're really doing is explaining it so that you feel like you could defend yourself. And that isn't leading with authority. That is essentially apologizing for something that you feel like needs to be done, but you want the other person to still like you. So be very, in that sense, use this as your permission to say, just to be very direct, clear, and concise. There's no need to wrap it up. And so think about if you're doing if you're wrapping up a Christmas gift, you only need to wrap it in paper once, right? You might want to put a bow on it. So that paper, so you won't have an expectation of your team member. That is to, let's make something very specific, to complete the marketing report by the end of the week. And it needs to have 3 different pieces of analysis with an explanation. The purpose here is be as specific as possible with what your expectation is. Then how the wrapping is, of course, how you communicate that. How do you lead with authority? Well, you simply, in this case, would state, I need you to complete that marketing report by the end of the week with these and these expectations met. That's it. That's done. There is no further explanation needed. If you then go on and say, well, because, we need to, like, I need to be able to use that, or I need that report in order to communicate with our senior leaders. And I also need that for, all you're doing is adding extra layers of paper on that Christmas gift, as an example, that aren't serving any purpose, but adding to confusion. So lead with authority. Again, be clear, be concise, be specific, but don't over explain. And again, that distinction between explanation that's necessary and over explanation is really ask yourself, am I providing this information as a manner of defending myself and the reason that I'm asking this? Or is this information essential in order for that person to complete their task? Now, number 2, and this is going to be a shift in how you deal with interruptions. Because we women, research is showing that women get interrupted more often than men. Now, for a lot of men, and this is, again, I'm going to be very generalistic here, it's fairly normal to just talk over other people. Now, there are women that do the same thing. So before everyone gets their panties in a knot, I'm not trying to insult one or the other. However, there is a way of wanting to reclaim your time. Now, this happened to come up today in the training that I did within my Leadership Accelerator, which was all around my Boardroom Whisper technique. And we went into even more advanced. And part of this was talking about, how do I handle and deal with interruptions? Because it happens so often. Now, one of my clients is someone who, and we talked about this at the end, so hopefully she's all right if I share this a little bit. She speaks a lot slower, more thoughtful. It comes, there's more pauses. So as I'm saying this, I'm imitating her a bit more. For me, I'm a type of person that speaks really fast, who thinks really fast, and kind of was like, okay, get to the point. But for someone who speaks slower, who takes more pauses, those are prime opportunities for other people to just jump right in and start talking themselves, and not at all giving her any space to speak and to share her ideas. Similarly, if you are more soft-spoken, you're likely also going to be spoken over, and you're going to find yourself going, why can't I get out of why can't I share my idea? Why does everyone keep interrupting me? So I want you to, the second shift is I want you to claim back your space. How do you do that? Here, I'm going to give you a three-part piece. Yeah, a three-part interruption framework. The first one is you want to, in a sense, I know I just talked about not softening, but in a sense, you're going to acknowledge, let's put it that way. You're going to acknowledge the person that's speaking. I appreciate that you have a point to bring in. You're not saying that you agree with them. You're not saying anything else. You're just acknowledging the fact that they have something to say. The second part is you're going to reclaim, right? Here it's like, I appreciate you have something to say. I am going to finish my point first. That's the second part, right? You're reclaiming your space. And number three is you're going to state what comes next. And that next part is, and then we can discuss your concerns as well. Because what this does is also subtly indicates to the rest of the people, if there's more people in the meeting, that you're not going to accept interruptions without calling them out directly. With the way that you say, I appreciate, there's lots of brain science behind it, but essentially, because it acknowledges the person who speaks up, they're also like, oh, okay, generally, again, this is generalization. So it can happen that the person reacts differently, but most of the time, this works to kind of soothe the water in order for you to create the space. It also it is a way of infusing assertiveness into your conversation by just stating, I'm finishing my point. There's no asking for permission in this. It's not like, do you mind if I finish my point? No. Because if you have that in there, you've already lost the battle. So you're just going to state that you're claiming your space. In other words, like, I'm going to finish my point, and then we'll address your concerns. So that is how you can, in a three-part framework, so acknowledge, claim, and then, state what comes next, is how you can start dealing with interruptions. And if you find this a step too far, because I know my clients today were like, oh, this is this is going to be a big step for me. You can practice this with friends and family. That's a great place to start. Or you start reclaiming the time for somebody else when they're interrupted. So if you find in a meeting that colleagues are interrupting others, you can really interject and say, listen, hold on a minute. Yes, you have a point. Let X, Y, and Z person finish their point first, and then let's hear yours. It's, again, another subtle signal to, like, okay, we're going to need to take our time. Plus, it positions you as a great leader of showcasing your own leadership. Now, number three, start owning the style of how you want to lead. So rather than pretending to be something different or trying to be very dominant when you're not, or being more authoritative than you're not, let's start figuring out, be very clear for yourself, what do you value? And is it that calmness? Is it honesty? Is it integrity? Is it empathy? Is it compassion? Is it results? Is it performance? Start asking yourself, what is it that you really you stand for? What is it that you value? Because then we can start to translate that into the type of behaviors and the way that you want to show up. Because showing up more fully as yourself is the key, is the way to creating that strategic presence, which is going to lead to more recognition as being a leader. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that shows up all of the time on those performance evaluations of checking the box, like, do they have this? So I really wanted to invite you, rather than trying to copy and mimic what you see as someone else doing successfully, is to start looking to yourself, going, how do I want to lead? What are the values with which I want to lead with? And what do behaviors translate those values into action? Now, I want to invite you because I know if you're listening to this or watching this later in the replay and you find like, oh my goodness, this sounds like me, know that you're not alone. I work with a lot of high performing women leaders every single day who are tired of molding themselves into the rooms that were never designed to fit for them, anyways. So, if you are tired and you're done with second guessing how you come across, and you really want to lead from your own strengths, from your own values, from your own way of being, I want you to DM me checklist because I have got a quick start checklist for you that is going to walk you through if you, at least three scenarios from my boardroom whisper technique that is going to get you able to get you started to being seen and recognized in the room. So if after this you're like, Kim, I don't know what to say, that checklist is for you because it has helped my clients and so many other women as well be able to speak up the space, claim the space for themselves, and be seen as a strategic partner for. And of course, follow me for more leadership tools, strategies, and ways of being for women who are done overworking and working long hours and are ready to lead right now. And again, any questions you've got, drop them either in the comments or DM me. I'd love to hear from you. DM me checklist and I will send that checklist. It's a PDF document, so I'll pop it over into your mailbox. So DM me or comment below checklist and I will get that to you as well.